okay? So here is the dream of Nebuchadnezzar and the vision and interpretation of Daniel. And what he's talking about here is a succession of empires: Babylonian, Medo-Persian, Greek, Roman. He starts chapter 2, verses 36 through 38. He's starting with the Babylonian Empire. He says, "This was the dream. Now we will tell the king its interpretation. You, O king, the king of kings," it's counterfeit title, "to whom the God of heaven has given the kingdom." God gave you this job. You should thank him. Don't get arrogant. "The power, the might, and the glory, and into whose hands he has given wherever they dwell, the children of men, the beasts of the field, the birds of heaven, making you rule over them all." Here's the key: "For you are the head of gold." So his dream and Daniel's vision was this massive, towering, powerful person. And Nebuchadnezzar looked and he saw his head at the top. He says, "What does this mean?" Daniel says, "You are the kingdom of gold." That is the Babylonian Empire. Nebuchadnezzar is the most frequently mentioned pagan king in the Bible, some 90 times. God calls him my servant and the lowest of men. This man lived in absolute security. He had a massive army. He was the superpower in his day. He had a massive wall surrounding his fortified city. It was 90 feet high. You could run a 4-horse chariot around the top of it and turn it around. He had a moat. He had guards. He feared no one. He feared nothing. And then God shows up and he's terrified. He's terrified. And he was called, in his kingdom, he was called the King of Gold, and his kingdom was called the Kingdom of Gold. It was opulent, it was rich, it was wealthy. As they would conquer other nations, they would plunder them. What we saw in the storyline of Daniel, when they plundered Israel, they took all of the objects out of the temple. So now you've got all of God's gold in Babylon with all of Satan's gold. This is the gold headquarters for the world. After him, though, his empire wouldn't exist forever. Every one of us is trying to establish a kingdom that never ends. He was trying to establish a kingdom that never ends. After him comes the Medo-Persian Empire. This is the chest and arms of silver. Daniel chapter 2, verse 39, he says, "Another kingdom inferior to you shall rise up after you." You're stronger than these guys, but God's going to let them win. He's going to allow them to conquer you. These events of the conquering of Babylon and the Babylonian Empire, they are recorded in Esther, another book of the Bible. And these two arms, many students of prophecy seem to think that these two arms represent the Medo-Persian Empire, that it was two kingdoms that came together as one kingdom. And that's the Medo-Persian Empire. After that comes the Greek Empire. This nation goes down, this nation goes down, this nation rises up. It says in chapter 2, verse 39, "And yet a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth." This Greek Empire was brought into existence historically by Alexander the Great. When he would march into war, the breastplates for his soldiers, their swords, their shields, and their helmets, what do you think they were made out of? Bronze. His was called the Kingdom of Bronze, and he was the King of Bronze. God specifically controls the events of human history. What happens after that is the Roman Empire comes into existence. The Roman Empire was the most powerful nation on the earth in its day as well. Daniel 2, verse 40 through 43. "And there shall be a fourth kingdom." 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth kingdom, just like Daniel says, strong as iron, not as valuable, but powerful. Because iron breaks to pieces and shatters all things, and like iron that crushes, it shall break and crush all these. And as you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay, partly of iron, it shall be a divided kingdom, but some of the firmness of iron shall be in it, just as you saw iron mixed with soft clay. And the toes of the feet were partly iron and partly clay, so that the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly brittle. As you saw the iron mixed with clay that is soft, so they will mix with one another in marriage, but they will not hold together, just as iron does not mix with clay. History records that this is exactly what happened to the Roman Empire. It kept expanding by conquering through force. But eventually, it had such a wide geographic dominion, so many disparate languages, nationalities, ethnicities, people groups, that ultimately it was a divided group, and Rome could not control the Roman Empire, and so it fell apart as people were more loyal to their local region or to their family of origins, to their religion or their ethnic tradition. So eventually, the mighty Roman Empire crumbled and fell. The point is this: the nation that conquered the earth could not control itself. What is true of the Roman Empire is true of you and I. That you can conquer people and things, but controlling yourself is the hardest mission that you have during the course of your life. The Roman Empire ruled, and then it ultimately declined. Now, the whole point of the Roman Empire was to bring forth Jesus Christ. The whole point of prophecy, the whole point of history is Jesus Christ. And it was the Roman Empire that was ruling and reigning at the time of the birth of Jesus. It was the Roman Empire that called for a census, that compelled and caused Jesus' parents to leave their hometown of Nazareth and ultimately go to Bethlehem, which was their family of origins, because the Roman government forced a census. That ultimately it was the Roman government that brought charges against Jesus, arrested Jesus, executed through crucifixion Jesus, buried Jesus, put in front of his burial tomb a stone with the inscription and the insignia of the Roman Empire. And Jesus Christ rose from death under the rule of the Roman Empire. And Jesus Christ came in what the Bible calls the fullness of time. Up until the Roman Empire, these various nations and clans and tribes were always at war and were disconnected and disparate. What the Roman government brought is Pax Romana. It's called the Roman peace. Furthermore, it brought into existence a road system, not unlike our modern highways, that connected all of these people groups so that when Jesus lived and Jesus died and Jesus rose, the news of the resurrection of our King, Jesus Christ, could be sent to the nations of the earth under the auspices of Roman peace and the Roman road system. None of that was possible in the history of the world until that day. Had Jesus died and risen previously, the news would have been contained. It would have not been released to the nations. You and I are here because Jesus lived, died, and rose during the Roman Empire, and the message has made it all the way to Arizona. Here's what some of you are thinking. God is not bigger than you think. He's bigger than you can think. Some of you say, I don't understand all this. Okay, trust the one who does. Trust the one who does. And let me say this. The God who wrote the word rules the world. The God who wrote the word rules the world. We teach little kids this song. He's got the whole world in his hands. It's true. In the hands of Jesus is all of human history. The promise. And in the days of those kings, the God of heaven, his name is Jesus, will set up a what? A kingdom. It's all about a king and a kingdom. He's talking about the first coming of Jesus during the Roman Empire. Here he is transitioning to the second coming of Jesus Christ. It seems to indicate that there will be some sort of reconnecting and recollecting of that disparate ancient Roman Empire in the latter days at the end of time. It may be that the spirit of Babylon is seeking to reassemble a counterfeit kingdom, and Jesus says, I've had enough, I'm coming down now. In the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed. Every other king, kingdom, nation comes and goes, and the kingdom of God endures forever. Nor shall the kingdom be left to another people. Nobody's going to conquer King Jesus. It shall break in pieces all these kingdoms and bring them to an end. And it shall stand forever. You're going to see this in Daniel 7. You're going to see this in Daniel 12. This is now the theme of the book and why we live kingdom down. Just as you saw that a stone was cut from a mountain by no human hand, and that it broke into pieces, the iron, bronze, clay, the silver, and the gold, a great God has made known to the king what shall be after this. And king, the dream is certain. And don't ask me if I'm sure. I'm real sure. Once Daniel gets a word from God, he is fearless. He is not going to negotiate or edit the word of God for Nebuchadnezzar. Do you think Nebuchadnezzar liked this interpretation? No. But it's the truth. It's the truth. And what he's talking about here is a kingdom will come when a stone comes and crushes all the other nations. It's a stone not cut by human hands. Who is that stone? It's Jesus. It says in Psalms, it says it in the Gospels, it says it in the epistles, that Jesus Christ is our cornerstone. The stone the builders have rejected has become the capstone. All the other nations rejected Jesus. And the cornerstone is where you would begin. It was small, but it was significant because if the cornerstone was wrongly set, then everything built upon it would be crooked and eventually tumble. And the prophecy that was given to Nebuchadnezzar and interpreted by God through Daniel was this: anything that isn't founded on Jesus comes down and doesn't work. Ultimately, it collapses and crumbles. So the point is this: start your day with Jesus. Start your year with Jesus. Start your family with Jesus. Start your marriage with Jesus. Start your parenting with Jesus. Start your business with Jesus. Start your schedule with Jesus. Start your finances with Jesus. Lay the cornerstone first and lay everything else on him. Apart from Jesus, nothing works. Everything crumbles. That's the moral of the story. Okay? And it says that this stone is not cut by human hands, meaning he's not just one of us. He's like us. He's like the Son of Man, Daniel 7 says. Some say this refers to his virgin birth. Others would say that it refers to his eternal kingdom. I believe that both are true. I believe that both are, in fact, true. I want you to see history focuses on Jesus. Daniel's prophecy goes from the first coming to the second coming. We are a few thousand years in the middle, and people will wonder, why is God not speaking about what is happening today? Because the center of history is Jesus, so the focus is on the first and the second coming. It's not that what happens today doesn't matter, but ultimately we need to keep our eyes fixed on Jesus. He is the one who truly matters.
Hey, howdy, Pastor Mark here. Thanks for viewing the clip, and if you'd like the entire sermon, we've got it ready to go.